Welcome, my friends, to this fine radio program, Smokin' and Toastin'. It's craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are already up to show number 81, and that means we've done a lot of drinking and smoking, is what that means.
That's pretty nice.
My name is Cruz. My co-host and good friend Ian Barry is here.
Hello, everybody.
Adam Andrus on the Wheels of Steel. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Try the bacon. You will not be disappointed. It's awesome. And so how are you, man?
Man, I'm good. I just had a great week. Smoked some cigars.
Oh, that's
fantastic
good.
times.
We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about, obviously, something that you and I have both sampled this week. We're going to talk about, we have a couple of St. Arnold beers to try today and to sample, as well as something I've never had. Sweetwater Brewing Company. I've had some of their other beers, but I've never had this one. It's their Grass Monkey Wheat Ale with lemongrass. So that will be very interesting to try. Those guys are out of Atlanta, and the Sweetwater Brewing Company. And they make some great beers. I remember back like early in the craft beer explosion, sort of, that they seemed to be a one that you could find. They were interesting because they were one of the less expensive craft beer. Like you could go get one of those 12-pack mix packs, like really economical, and it would have a bunch of different styles in it. I was like, these guys are awesome. I think now they're more, competitively priced with everybody else, but the beer they make, at least the other stuff that I've had, is still good. They have a really fine IPA. They have a chocolate porter that I've had that's outstanding.
I don't know. I've seen the label. I don't know that I've had any. I'd have to see the label before.
It's the one with the big fish jumping out of it. We'll show it to the camera when we get there. So that's going to be one of our tastings. We also have St. Arnold's Springbock, because it is springtime. And then a second St. Arnold, because, normally we try to mix it up a little bit, unless we're having a brewery in as a guest, of course. But I got a bottle of Divine Reserve 18.
Yes.
And so
There's nothing wrong with that.
We'll be a tasting. So looking forward to that. Plus we have an artisan gin. It's Roxor Artisan Gin. It comes in a very interesting artisan style bottle, as you can see there if you're on Facebook Live or one of the video feeds. So we'll be tasting all of those today, and that just has me all excited.
We're going to have a good time.
We are, absolutely. Plus, we have something really interesting I want to share with you. Craftbeer.com is a great site if you're a craft beer enthusiast.
Agreed.
And they put all of their listeners to the task to come up with the best craft beer bar in their state. So whatever state you live in, that was the state you voted in. And we have the compiled list. We have the best craft beer bar in every state, according to...
That sounds like a blast.
51, including Washington, D.C. So
I'm thinking road trip.
Yeah, so exactly. Well, if you're planning your road trip for the summer, this is just so perfect. You want some of these as destinations. Just looking at the article, I'm like, we got to go on the road. This is great.
Right?
This is great. And we are going to be going on the road, by the way, in a couple of weeks, because in a couple of weeks we will be doing our show live from a yet-to-be-disclosed location in the greater Los Angeles area. So our first show live from California. And so we'll be smoking some cigars and drinking some California brews.
So fantastic.
And it's going to be awesome. So, we really want to expand the footprint of the show. So California is the next state we want to
we're coming to
open our arms to in a really, really big way. So if you happen to see couple of nuts out there, drinking and carrying on, that's probably us. And if not, just go up to them and go, Ian and Cruz, and they'll go, what? So I'm really excited about this, though, the best craft beer bar in every state. Plus, there could be a black market developing for cigars in New York. And we'll tell you why.
Not to be confused with black market cigars.
Right. No, this is an actual, buying cigars on the black market type of thing. And we're not even talking about Cubans. So that should be an interesting thing to get into. So very excited about that. It's been quite a week. You mentioned you'd had a few cigars. Is there anything that stands out that you want to mention that you've smoked that's interesting, sir?
I do. I want to talk about the Herrera Esteli Norteño.
Oh, see, that's... I don't want to bias your review, but man, that's a good song. I'm just saying. Sorry, I got a little carried away there.
Right. This is the second issue from the Herrera
Herrera Esteli,
from the Herrera name on this, and the Herrera Esteli was a fantastic cigar, and I think the first time I tried that was on this show when we were out at Friendly Fire. That's what he recommended to us.
Which, by the way, was the first live show at a cigar location, Cigar Lounge, that we ever did.
That was a blast.
And wow, we had a good time with Mike.
So the Norteña is a Nicaraguan cigar, Mexican wrapper, Honduras binder, Nicaraguan filler.
So it's from all over the place.
Yeah,
basically.
it's all over the place, and it is a beautiful.
Well, this is a Drew Estate makes this cigar, right?
Drew Estate, they're flavored cigars and everything else. They're kind of they're all over the place. They have their hand in so many different cigars, but their quality control is outstanding. From head to toe, and this cigar is no exception whatsoever. This cigar lit. It's a powerhouse. It's. I think I read one of the things on here was described as a firecracker, and it is. It's a huge flavor bomb. It's delicious. It's lots of pepper. But not too spicy, if that makes any sense.
I do understand what you're getting at. Sometimes you can get the pepper on your tongue, but it's not like the cigar is a spice bomb.
Right. So it's spicy, but not too spicy, but still lots of pepper. It's everything I like in a cigar. You've heard me say these things a million times. It's espresso, it's chocolate, it's all those things with a big, super silky smoke that comes out of it. And I love that, too, that big mouthfeel that you get from those big smoky cigars. The thing burned perfectly all the way down. Yeah,
that silky smoke.
The other neat thing I noticed about this cigar was the flavor profile started off almost within the first eighth of an inch, and just stayed that way.
Because sometimes it takes a while for a cigar to kind of come into itself. Yeah.
I had the initial light, which was pretty big and a little spicy, and then it calmed down slightly, and then just stayed there the entire way. Awesome. And I smoked it down to my fingertips until it was just about burning me, and just was still not wanting to put it down. Fortunately, I have a few more of these to enjoy.
Nice. That's so good. I'll just mention, it's not the cigar I was going to mention specifically, but you mentioned Drew Estate's flavored cigars. I have a few of those little blondies.
Yeah.
The acid blondies sitting in my humidor, and I was looking the other day for just a very quick smoke because I didn't have much time, and I couldn't really find anything that looked like it would be right, and I didn't want to light even an expensive Robusto because I might have to, I couldn't find any cheap Robustos in my humidor. That's what I was looking for. And then I thought, I'll just smoke one of those blondies. And I smoked it outside on the patio, and it was a windy day, and that baby smoked like a dream in the wind. It was amazing.
Yeah, those are great. And as a matter of fact, I think it was a few, maybe 3 or 4 shows ago, I reviewed the I'm blanking on it now, the Dirt. The big Dirt.
The Dirt, yes, that big one, yes.
And it's actually not that big of a cigar, but it's kind of a small cigar, but it's called the Dirt Natural, and it's part of that natural line, and it's got that sweetness on it. It's fantastic. I mean, you can go back and listen to I think that was show 78 we did that on. But I think I was wearing the same shirt on that show too.
You may have, yeah. That is a familiar looking shirt. Yeah.
How about that? But anyway, so this cigar comes in, I think, $10 to $12.
Yeah.
In that price range, it's worth every single penny.
Oh,
and
really?
maybe a little bit more. I was just so pleasantly surprised about the flavor profile and the construction. It was so impeccable on this thing. I mean, it's like one of those things where you grab it, you get it in your hand, and you feel how good this cigar is going to be before you even light it,
Well, I think when we talk price to quality, and what number would you give it?
I'm going to give this a 6. It's a little bit better than even what I paid for.
With 5 meaning you get exactly what you pay for.
And I think I got that as I think I split a box with a buddy of mine with those, and so I'm thinking actually I'm probably going to have to give it a 6.5 or a 7 because I didn't pay that much
a little
for
less
it.
for it. Yeah.
So at what I paid, I think that
you've got that
even
cigar auction buddy. I need a buddy.
Yeah,
like
he's great like that.
He finds these great things and goes, "Hey, I want to split it." You're like, sure.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We were talking about the whole price to quality thing. You're talking about a $10-ish cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, once you hit double digits with a cigar, for it to be worth more than you paid for it to get more than a 5, is really a pretty big deal.
It's a really good cigar, and like I said, the construction I was just blown away by how good the experience was with
Right.
it, you know? Because there was nothing about it that you could possibly complain unless you just don't like that cigar.
Right, exactly.
And then I don't know you because that's weird. That's a great cigar.
Who are you? You're a friend of mine.
What do you mean the cigar is good?
Well, I smoked just this last week a cigar that I've certainly had before, but it's been a while. It was a Rocky Patel Vintage 1992 Maduro.
Oh, those are great.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
yeah, that's all right. I biased your review. You can bias mine.
Skew your review
It's been a while since I've had one of these, so I was excited to see. And when I say a while, I mean like a number of years. So I was excited to see if the flavor lived up to the sort of flavor bomb that I remembered
Right.
from when I smoked this a number of years. Because I've had a lot of cigars since then. My palate's probably changed. Plus. Can they keep the quality consistent over all those years? So the cigar had an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, Nicaraguan binders, and Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers, so from all over the place, just like what you just smoked. It was box pressed and beautiful. I mean, really a pretty cigar. A wonderful earthy pre-light aroma. When I lit it up, it opened up and continued with an absolutely perfect draw. Any rumblings about Rocky cigars not being rolled well, or as well as they used to, or whatever, can be totally put to rest. This cigar burned like a champion. Nice. It was amazing. Earthiness and a bit of kind of sweet chocolate at first, and then that chocolate faded a little bit and was replaced by sort of a nuttiness and creaminess with hints of spice. It was definitely medium bodied. It wasn't full. I wouldn't even say medium to full. It was right at medium. But it was full of flavor, and I have to say it may actually be better than I remember. And that was impressive.
That cigar, that along with Rocky Patel's Decade.
Decade's a great
I
smoke.
first tried those. I think I had a Cigar Dave subscription. You ever watch or listen to Cigar Dave show? I love that guy.
Of course, yeah.
But I was one of his subscriptions, where it's the Cigar of the
where
Month.
they picked the Cigar of the Month.
And I think I got both of those from that.
Yeah.
And loved both of them. And really, that got me deeper into smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Love that cigar.
Yeah. Well, certainly the Rocky 1992, that was one of my first sort of like, oh, yeah, I'm going to smoke a good cigar today.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a 1990 or a 1992 vintage. And it may be actually better than I remember, which, kind of made me think, why has it been this long since I've had one of these?
And it's been the same for me. I haven't had one in years, I don't think.
It's in a $7 to $8 range. Price to quality, I'd give it a solid 6. In my opinion, it smoked more like a $10 or $11 cigar. So solid 6 for me on the Rocky Patel 1992 Maduro. Don't be afraid of it. I mean, and even Rocky has got so many more things in his line now. It's easy to go, well, I'll try the 15th, or I'll try the private, or the Old World, or and those cigars are all very good. But do not sleep on the 1992 vintage. It's absolutely worth it. Okay, so we are going to start. We're going to have to take more than 10 per segment now because we haven't done any in the first segment. But we're going to start talking about the best craft beer bars in every state, and we will taste us some St. Arnolds Springbock coming up next. You're listening to Smoking and Toasting.
Sounds delicious.
It is the program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone on Facebook.
What up, Facebook Live?
Spring is here. My eyes are watering, and my sinuses are kicking.
My mouth is watering, and I'm excited about trying this.
Springbock. Springbock is always a good beer.
Yeah, we'll go with Springbock first, just to break up the St. Arnold.
I try to drink them out of it every year.
Foo Fighters reminded me. Great Foo Fighters documentary on Netflix, by the way. We watched that. And so it kind of got me in the Foo Fighters mood. I was like, yeah.
I've watched the one about the board that he bought.
Yeah, that's great. That's Sound City.
Yeah, the Sound City one.
That's a great one, but this one is an actual documentary on the band Foo Fighters. It's really interesting, very well put together. And so Foo Fighters are playing at the amphitheater. And I generally don't like going to shows there, but I told me, let's look into it. I might want to see them. It's been a while since I've seen the Foos. So she looks into it. We'll just get lawn seats or something. Like, let's go on the cheap. Lawn seats are $140.
Ooh,
for the Foo Fighters. That's fucking crazy.
Well, they're such an amazingly popular band.
Well, and they're also, one of the reasons I wanted to go see them is because they're a great live band. Yeah. Like some rock bands make pretty decent records, and you go see them live, and it's like, they're okay. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with it, but they don't wow you. Foo Fighters, And all you need for proof of this is watch them anytime they play, like Saturday Night Live or
They
Tonight
just get
Show.
up there and kill it.
They just get up there and kill it every time. It's amazing. And you watch them, and you go, yeah, they're just going to play one of their sort of straight ahead rock songs, and then you're like, that was good, and so they have that kind of a vibe to them. So I was like, I'd like to go, but I don't know if I want to pay for two of you $280 to sit on the lawn.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. And then I'm thinking, they sold out. You see this in the documentary. They sold out Wembley Stadium 3 nights in a row. Oof. You're thinking, well, no wonder bands tour,
right?
Because they may not be making money on their records, but
no one's making money on records.
They're making
anymore.
money if you can draw like that, especially at higher ticket prices, you're making some money.
And you can get someone to underwrite it even.
Oh yeah,
that's why you see a lot of the big pop acts are all
that's why
Pepsi presents, Coca-Cola presents.
That's why we want to do Solo Cups presents
Solo
Smoking
Cups.
And Toasting.
We're smoking and toasting.
I see your.
I want to get sponsored by Shasta.
Oh. Shasta Lemon Lime.
Shasta Lemon Lime and whiskey,
Cola.
please.
We used to have Shasta when I was a kid. We were so poor when I was a kid. My parents it would be a big treat. They would buy I'm thirsty. I'm ready to drink. Welcome back, my friends. Smoking and Toasting. Show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars heard around the world and originating here in Houston, Texas, which is home for both Ian and myself. Although home is temporarily going to be Los Angeles in a couple of weeks when we do our
That's gonna be pretty
live
exciting.
from LA show. So details about where we'll be and what we'll be sampling and all that stuff will be coming up if anybody's interested. And of course, if you are a Los Angeles area listener and you want to come by while we're doing the show, it'll be a blast.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Let's get started on this list because I'm pretty excited about sharing this. Craftbeer.com is a great site. I just want to say that. And I didn't compile this list. This came from craftbeer.com. But they have a lot of readers and people who go to the site very regularly, and they basically polled them and said, okay, in your state, wherever you come from, what is, in your opinion, the best bar to get craft beer? And there were a few things they suggested for criteria: how many bottles and cans the bar would stock, different varieties, how many were on draft, and so forth. I mean, I'm a big fan of, if I'm going to vote a place the best, it's got to have a really good draft selection.
Yes.
Bottles and cans are great, but I don't know, it's got to have good draft. So anyway, craftbeer.com readers were asked to nominate their favorite and fill out a brief survey about what it makes it so great. There were nearly 8,000 votes cast between November and December of last year. So it's a pretty big survey. We'll just go alphabetically. So we start with Alabama and Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Lusa Brews in Tuscaloosa wins the Alabama crown. It was founded in 2014. They have 63 taps and 300 available in bottles and cans. So it's part bottle shop, part arcade bar, and they pride themselves on serving the freshest Alabama beers from independent brewers.
Nice.
And see, so that's what I would really want. Like if I went there, I wouldn't want to go there and get something I could get at home. I'd want to be like, okay, I'm in Tuscaloosa. What am I going to do? I have no idea, but I am going to drink some of your local or regional beer. Yeah, so Lusa Brews. In Alaska, in Denley Park, Alaska, there's a place called Prospector's Historic Pizzeria and Ale House. I already like it, right?
That sounds awesome.
It does. It was opened in 2010. They have 53 taps, and they say as far as bucket list destinations go, Denali National Park needs no help, but for beer fans, having a place like Prospector's Historic Pizzeria and Ale House sure makes a trip a no-brainer. So they say expertly curated list of draft beers and award-winning pizza, and also supposed to have great patio views and stuff. So if you're going to Alaska on one of those cruises, ask if you're going to Denali Park and check out the Prospector's Historic Pizzeria and Ale House. It's a lot to say. In Tucson, Arizona, the Arizona winner is Tap and Bottle from Tucson.
Tap and Bottle. My brother lives in Tucson.
20 draft beers plus one cask and 500 or more bottles and cans. and not 500 more bottles a gate, but different beers. 500 or more different beers. That's a lot. So, and 20 taps is a lot. They pride themselves, they say, in being a gathering place for all to come together for the love of beer. And they have a sour beer festival every year called Where the Wild Things Pour, which I thought was kind of cool.
So I could guarantee with all those selections in there, I would walk in and immediately order the cask.
Yes.
I love it when they have the cask draw.
Yeah.
And because it's drawn different, and it's usually very low carbonation at all.
Right.
High alcohol content. Those are my kind of beers.
All the things you like.
Everything I like about
all the things you like.
Like if you stick a spoon in it and it stands straight up, I'm fine with that.
So in Little Rock, Arkansas is the champion for the state of Arkansas. And it's called Flying Saucer. Now, interestingly enough, we have a Flying Saucer here in Houston that both you and I have been to. I can't tell from this if they are in any way related, but their staff is passionate about beer, and they say that they have a ghost beer program that puts the beer decisions in the hands of the locals.
Nice.
So in terms of what they're going to have on tap and what
That's awesome.
It's a blind beer tasting of local beers. They get local beer fans together for it. They do the blind tasting, and the stuff that wins is the stuff
it's brilliant.
on tap. Yeah, 170 in cans and 75 on draft. That's a lot of taps. If you think about it, it's a lot of taps because you obviously lose beer from a tap, right? If you let's say maybe you don't pour very many, well, you still got to clean out the lines
and everything else,
right? So even though draft beer is less expensive for the brewery or for the tap room or the restaurant, you still spill a lot, as they say in restaurant terms. I like my fancy restaurant lingo. Longmont, Colorado. Adam was just talking about what a great state Colorado is for craft beer. In Longmont is a place called Samples that wins the vote for Colorado. It was opened in 2015, 40 in bottles and cans, 28 on draft. So those aren't huge numbers, but they say, consider yourself a connoisseur. Samples is the place and challenge for you. Test your palate with their Beer Quater Challenge. Identify all 20 beers in a flight, and you own yourself $500.
Wow.
Yeah. So they pour a flight, 20 beers, which first of all, yes. and then you taste them, and if you can identify all 20 of them, you win. Of course, I know I would never be able to do that.
I would try.
But I would love to try. Yes, I would just love to try. So we'll do one more here, and then we'll take a pause and do some sampling. But in Connecticut, Willimantic, Connecticut is the home of the Willimantic Brewing Company. It was opened in 1996, so this has been around for a little while. 30 is their count on different kinds of bottles, 41 on draft. 41's a lot of taps.
That's a lot of taps.
Willimantic is the perennial Great American Beer Bar, and they say it's easy to see why. It's a former post office that has been transformed into a beacon of good beer and good vibes.
That's got a certain level of awesomeness, too.
Yep, Willimantic. So we'll come back to the list if we haven't hit your state yet. We definitely
Cruz,
will.
what you got over there?
I have a can of the St. Arnold German-style Springbock, which St. Arnold themselves describe as a smooth and satisfying lager.
Okay, and I'm not going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. I try to drink them out of that every year it comes out.
Yeah, because this is the seasonal. Yeah, so
and I love St. Arnold seasonals. I don't know what it... Oh, that was beautiful.
That was good, wasn't it?
I don't know what it is about their seasonals. Like, they have so many good ones.
Let's face it, St. Arnold just brews
they
beer
just
of
rock.
all kinds. Now, I will admit... I used to be a fan of the Alyssa, and I think I had it so much I just got a little burned out on the taste.
Yeah.
But about the time I did, they came out. Me loving IPAs, they came out with Art Car, which I think is the St. Arnold Art Car IPA is just fantastic.
That's a brilliant beer.
It's just fantastic,
and we've had that on here a number of times.
We have, and only once as a review. Sometimes just for us to drink before the show starts. So it's that kind of a beer. But no, it's really good. And you're right. Their seasonals, their Christmas ale. Oh, how
man.
good is that Christmas ale?
Their Christmas ale is what I'm waiting for right now.
And then they see you do love the seasonals, don't you?
Like
it's spring
Christmas ale.
Spring has just sprung, and you're thinking about the Christmas ale. Well, it comes out earlier and earlier every year.
They make so many good beers. I mean, it's hard to even just nail them all down. Like, I loved their Boiler Room, which was their Berliner Weiss, and then they turned it into their
Raspberry
AF, and I have
and that's
definitely
fantastic.
tried to put a dent in the supply of that.
Well, I can tell you that this is just very floral and hoppy on the nose, and that it's got, just a, you can just tell, by the way, their Oktoberfest is fantastic too at St. Arnold. It's just all their seasonals are great.
Yes,
but you can just tell that this is just waiting for you. It's what it's.
This to me is just about the epitome of a Bock.
Yes,
if you
a
ask
real
me,
Bock.
It's very malty profile, very little hopsy profile to it. Very malty, very sweet, very easy to drink. This is not a high alcohol beer. I think it's what, 5?
Oh yeah, let me take a look and see if it says on the can.
5%ish, I think, off the top of my head. I could be making that number up.
I'm having trouble finding it on the can, and it might not be. But here we go. Oh, it's 6.9.
Oh, 6.9.
Yes.
Wow, it hides it well.
Yes, it does. Because this feels very, very sessionable.
It's so good. It's so good. So that just made a liar out of me. So maybe not as sessionable as I want it to be, but that does not stop me from making a session out of this beer.
What it doesn't do is it doesn't make you feel like that feeling that you can get sometimes from the higher alcohol beers where you take a drink and you go, that was delicious. Yeah. But I won't be opening another one after I finish this.
There's a really interesting bitter caramel, like burnt caramel on the finish. It happens right at the very back of the tongue.
I was just about to say, it's not just a caramel, it's a burnt caramel.
And so it's interesting because as sweet as this beer is, it leaves you with that little snap, and that's the hops finish on the end of that, but it comes across with just that snap.
I will say, if it didn't have that, this might feel like it was a little too sweet.
Right,
but that just
it just finishes this beer. And that's one of the things I really love about this is it's so well rounded. Like the flavor profile up front.
Show that to the camera.
It's fantastic.
It's a beautiful
round,
can.
Very malty, and then with the finish has this really crisp bitterness to it that finishes just fantastic, like a good bitter chocolate finishes.
I love it. I love it. I wish I'd brought more of this, but we do have other things to taste, including, by the way, another St. Arnold today. So we're doubling up St. Arnold. We're doubling up in St. Arnold because we have the Divine Reserve number 18. So we're really excited about that. We'll tell you more about that when we get there. More locations across the country in different states of the best craft beer bar in each state. Plus, have you been to a Comic-Con lately, or am I the only one geeky enough to attend such an event?
I dropped my wife off at Comic-Con one time.
All right, well, then
I went mountain biking.
Your wife,
and then I came back and picked her up.
Your wife might have noticed that Comic-Cons are quietly becoming craft beer festivals, so we'll tell you what's going on with that coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, comics and craft beer. I like it. So we'll be back momentarily. You're listening to Smoking and
Shoving Geekser. I don't know why that's so funny. That movie is so oddly funny. When they're talking about the names of the different weed.
Yeah, it shouldn't be funny at all.
No, it's terrible.
But it is.
But it's hilarious.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Let me see here. We are moving right along. Our next will be the Grass Funky.
You know that makes me want to sing Beastie Boys.
I know.
Grass monkey. Grass monkey. You know, in my head, I was confusing that because it's called Grass Monkey. I was confusing that with Tall Grass Brewing Company, too.
Right. Yeah,
not Sweetwater.
This is Sweetwater.
Yeah, so the label, I know. I don't know if I've actually had any of their beers. I've seen the package.
They've got a lager that's not bad, and they got, I want to say like a chocolate porter that I've had chocolate porter. Really good. But I like the little blue.
That's a nice touch. I'm starting to become more and more a fan of the can. I got to be honest with you, just because in bottles sometimes you get a beer that's funky.
Yeah.
And never happens in a can. And I almost always pour it into a glass anyway.
Well, you're gonna get your wish because it's going all everything. Everybody's going all cans.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the type of thing where I'll be looking forward to the day when a brewery announces that it's going to go against the grain and do only bottles. That's what it'll be like the vinyl resurgence.
See, I think we're backwards on that. You like the bottles better.
I like the bottles.
Yeah.
They're colder. So I got a 6-pack of Lagunitas IPA downstairs at the Phoenicia. If you're listening Facebook Live. Phoenicia, downtown Houston. Awesome place.
Now, I also want to point out that you're a little spoiled considering
I'm very
to go
spoiled.
shopping for beer.
I get in the
you
elevator.
take the elevator down and take a left.
That's exactly
You
right.
don't even go outside.
I have to remember my key fob. Does that count for
I
anything?
mean, you can do that with your fuzzy slippers and
Yeah.
a bathrobe if you want to.
I can buy beer without ever having to brave any element of any kind. I can buy
I'm
beer
a
in the
little jealous
dead of
about
winter
that.
in shorts if I want to.
I'm a little jealous about that.
So, but no, I went down there. I got some Lagunitas IPA, still in bottles, although they make it in cans too, I think. But I got it in bottles, and I just brought it in, put it in the refrigerator. I had one later that night, and it was so cold. It was so awesome.
Do you have those? Do you have one of those like Yeti koozies?
I have a Yeti can cooler. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
those are brilliant.
they are, and they're really, really good for beer in cans. If you're going to try to,
They
drink out of the
do
can.
well with most bottles
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, I am really
Like
used it as much
it
for bottles.
kind of depends on the size of the bottle, but for most bottles, they actually work really well with that too.
That's great. I'm going to make sure I'm far enough ahead on.
My eyes are just watering. Hello, smoking and toasting.
Let me just write.
How's everybody out there in Facebook land right now?
Yes.
Spring is here. I think we actually skipped spring and went straight to summer here, but that didn't stop us from getting all that spring allergies.
Yes.
We had a winter for like 3 days this year. And one day was definitely down in the 30s, like low 30s, because I had to walk and get some Fix-A-Flat because I had a flat tire. Do you know that the convenience store over by where I work charges $18 for a can of Fix-A-Flat?
Would you do me a favor? Will you look up and make sure that Pella, Iowa, Pela, is an actual place?
Pella, Iowa, what?
Pella, Iowa. You just make sure it's an actual place.
They're just making stuff up here.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm looking at it right.
Pela. Pella, Iowa pops up. You want to know what the weather is?
Yes.
It is 46 degrees in Pella, Iowa right now and cloudy.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to rock if you are.
With a 16 mile per hour wind. And looking for some chance of rain on Monday.
Wow. For March, that's crazy.
Yeah. This is, by the way, that little segment.
Yeah. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. What about the segment? I'm sorry.
I'm going to use that as a part of my resume if I decide to become a weatherman.
Okay, good.
Just clip that right out and be like, I can do it. See?
By the way, weatherman, greatest job in the world. You know why? No pressure to ever be right.
No, you don't have to at all.
You just
no one
make a
expects you to
bunch
be
of
right.
crap up, and if sometimes you hit, people go, "Yeah, I was watching Ian on Channel 8, and he said it was going to rain. Look, it's raining. He must know what he's talking about."
I love the commercials that the local channels do for the weatherman, make him look all tough and awesome.
Yeah. Meteorologist Joe Sobel.
It's awesome.
You'd be a good
We're gonna
meteorologist.
kick weather in the butt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You need to be prepared. Ian Barry will have you prepared with your galoshes.
Your galoshes. What a great word.
Yeah, I know. Galoshes is a great word. Okay, so you know what else is a great word or a great name?
What's that?
Paradiso.
Paradiso.
And the Pizzeria Paradiso in DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. is the Washington, D.C. winner for. Yeah, it is the place to go if you're in Washington, D.C. Now, this is according to the craftbeer.com best beer pub in every state. They got 200 selections in bottles and cans, 12 on draft plus 1 cask. So I can tell you're down. Ian.
Yeah, I'd be there for the cask.
It's tough to go wrong with craft beer and pizza, but this staff knows how to kind of make it an art. They are really good in having the highly sought after independent craft beers from the DC area. And after a visit, they say here in the article, it's one of those places after you go. Yeah,
it's got to be nice too in the DC area. Having local craft beers consists of like 5 different states.
Oh yeah. It's yeah. Where is that beer? Yeah, it's local. It's from Virginia. Where's that one? It's local. It's from Maryland.
Right.
It's
local from Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
local
that's
from
right.
New York.
Exactly. Yeah, they think Yuengling's a local beer there in DC.
Yuengling's a pretty good beer.
Yuengling's a very good beer.
That's a pretty good
While
beer.
you were out, we had the light beer blind taste test number 2, and the Yuengling Light was my number 1 pick.
Nice.
out of all of the craft beer that we
Nice.
tasted. Bud Light did not do so well.
Bud Light and Miller Lite just,
Yeah.
oddly enough, Bud Light didn't score on ours at all.
Didn't score on anyone's. Yeah. Miller Lite did take a few spots, but Bud Light didn't do well.
Yeah, Miller Lite was the surprising one. You're right. I forgot about that.
In Newark, Delaware. Delaware is a very small state, by the way.
Yes.
You can drive through it very, very quickly. But Newark's a good place to go. And if you are there, you want to go to Two Stones Pub. It's known for its smokehouse brunch, which brings together the dream team of, and I love these things separately and really love them together, meat and craft beer.
Oh, yeah.
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 They have a big Buddha, a 6-foot-tall concrete Buddha in the middle of the bar, and it's there to oversee what they call the beer temple. 150 selections in cans, 25 in draft. That is the Two Stone Pub in Newark, Delaware. Voted the best craft beer bar in the state of Delaware.
That reminds me, my brother-in-law, Dave, me and him have been dear friends since before he was brother-in-law. Mm-hmm. And we used to, when he lived in Houston, I think it was Sundays, we would show up at his place and we'd sit out in the back and grill meat, and we would eat this meat directly off the grill. There were no plates, there were no sides. So we would eat directly off the grill and have beers and or wine depending on what the night was going on.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things, but that's how
awesome.
it was meat and beer.
That's awesome. Meat and beer. What could be better except throw a cigar in there?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. In Florida, the winner is from Tallahassee. Florida's got a lot of places you can drink. There's Miami and, of course, Miami Beach and, South Beach. You've got Orlando. You've got Tampa, which is known for some great beer.
We tried that a month ago. We tried the Cigar City one.
Yeah, the highlight was great.
Yeah.
But Growler Country in Tallahassee, Florida, opened in 2014, takes the prize for the state of Florida as for best beer bar. They've got 50 different selections of bottles and cans, but the draft is 32 taps.
Nice.
32. In Growler Country, they say you get an ever-changing but always up-to-date beer menu. So I like that.
I like that, too.
So Growler Country, if you're in Tallahassee, Florida, a lot of college students, of course, in Tallahassee. If you're in Georgia, figure out where Ella J, Georgia is. You may have never heard of Ella J. I had not before I read this.
You've never heard of that at all.
But if you go there and talk to a guy named Brad Simmons who owns the River Street Tavern there, you'll be talking to the man who is the proprietor of the winning craft beer bar in the state of Georgia. So that means it beats out Atlanta, all the fancy Atlanta, suburban communities and all the different places. There's some very hip, very trendy beer bars there. 31 selections on bottles and cans, 21 on draft, and they focus on the state's independent breweries, and that's
Nice.
I think what probably won them this award. If you're in Hawaii, and why wouldn't you want to be? You want to visit the Village Bottle Shop and Tasting Room in Honolulu. 16 taps and 500 or more selections in bottles and cans. They are the first combined bottle shop and tasting room in the state of Hawaii. And they are the winner for.
Nice.
I mean, if you're in Hawaii, you're already like having a great
Some good things are happening.
Good things are happening all around you. So just go and visit that place. If you're in Boise, Idaho now, you may really be looking for something to do.
I've driven through Idaho. And
props to my friends in Boise.
There's a lot of fields.
You want to check out, the Bitter Creek Ale House in Boise. 400 plus selections in bottles and cans, 41 on draft. And their beer list will tell you how much they value local breweries. And again, if you're in Boise, Idaho, like, when are you and I going to be able to, other than maybe visiting this, be able to taste a beer selection for Boise, Idaho? And you got guys there making great beer. So
I love this craft beer explosion.
The state of Illinois, you want to go to Ocean Park, and you want to visit the Brass Tap. It was founded in 2014. They have 130 in bottles and cans, 130 different choices, and 60 all lined up in a row taps.
Wow.
60 taps is a lot.
Of taps.
Yeah, is a lot. And they are just, again, focusing on, a lot of local and regional breweries, draft beers like Pollyanna, Maplewood, and Noon Whistle, none of which I've ever had. So, like, I'm now curious.
Noon Whistle sounds
what's up
awesome.
with that? Let's go Noon Whistle, baby.
It's funny because a lot of those places too, like even Rudyard's here in Houston and Mongoose versus
Cobra.
Cobra.
Yes.
They have the digital beer lists now that'll scroll through all the different things. But that way they can just type in what they have and what they don't have.
I love at Ritual over in the Heights. They have the big board that's kind of like if you were in a train station up in north, like Grand Central
That's
Station.
exactly what I'm talking about.
And then
exactly what I'm talking about.
One more here for this segment. Pella, Iowa, P-E-L-A. I've never been to Pella, but they have a place there called the Cellar Peanut Pub, and you have to go to craftbeer.com just to look at the picture of this place because it just looks awesome. 50 craft beers on draft and some of the most knowledgeable staff. They've got another 23 or so in bottles and cans, but clearly the draft is what it's all about here. Every pub tender at this location is a certified beer server through the Cicerone program. That means they are not only more than happy to pour you a craft beer, they're more than happy to chat about it, and they know what they're talking about. And that can make it that can make a thing really fun. You know, if your bartender really knows the beer instead of just going, yeah, I don't know, try it, and I don't mind those guys either, as long as they're willing. I
like the customer service when you walk into a place like that and you ask, what do you guys have that's interesting or something like that, and they actually know a bit about it. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they'll tell you what style do you like? Okay, well we have this and this and this. You know.
Right. Exactly. And they can make recommendations. Maybe pour you a little sample so you can check it out. It's fun.
Yes.
That's one of the most fun things to do. So
I'm waiting for that sound.
I will tell you.
Oh, you dragged that out.
I did. I went slow with that. It's like foreplay. I will tell you that I'm not sure I'm going to like this beer. Now, I haven't tried it yet. But I'm not a huge fan of wheat ales, and that's what this is. And I'm also not a huge fan of... we talked about how great we think St. Arnold is, but I don't care at all for lawnmower. Now I know tons of people who do. It's just not doesn't fit my palate.
And I think lawnmower's fine.
I don't like the grassiness necessarily.
I don't go out of my way for lawnmower, but I'll definitely drink it if it's the one I have. Like the little corner store by my house, that's about the only decent beer that they keep there.
Right.
And so I
so
drink,
it's an easy one to grab.
So
if you're
lawnmower is an occasional for me.
Do you have to go outside to go to that store?
You disgust me. Disgust me, Cruz.
Here is the Grass Monkey, which is what we're about to sample here. It is from the fine people at Sweetwater Brewing Company. And again, it's a hoppy wheat ale with lemongrass. Let me read you what it says here. Spring got sprung with this funky monkey. We dropped a big stash of lemon drop hops into both the bottle and the kettle and the dry hop, delivering a big citrus blast, which that sounds like something I might like, and topped it all off with lemongrass addition for a refreshing twist. Light in body with bright citrus notes. It's an extremely complex but very easy drinking brew. What do you think, Ian?
It tastes exactly like what they said with the grass and the lemon. It's like, except for instead of lemon, it's like you just bit into the rind.
Well, that's
like into the peel there.
Lemongrass certainly has that taste to it. It's
bitterness to it, yeah.
Right, you get the bitterness without the sort of sweet of the citrus. And in this beer, the citrus is going to come from the hops, is where the citrus is going to come from. But I will tell you, I don't get much on the nose.
No, not much
Maybe
at all.
Just a little tiny
I will
bit
also
of
tell you that the first sip of this, it was a little too citrus, a little too sour citrus. The second sip of this, I like it much better.
You sort of settle into the flavor.
Yeah, it took me a minute to settle into the flavor. So I think this is a good drinkable beer. I don't think it would be my first choice.
We do have it nice and cold, which I would say is something you would definitely want. I would not want this beer even slightly warm.
I don't think with a cigar you'd even taste this beer.
Probably not, and that might make it a good choice for Again, it's designed to be a spring. I'm pretty sure this is a seasonal for Sweetwater as well, and it's. I will say I'm going to say that I like it better than I expected to.
Right.
It is not as grassy as Lawnmower is, which can turn me off a little bit. Again, props to everybody that loves Lawnmower. It's just not my thing. But I kind of like this. I do also like Don't Float the Mainstream, which they have across the top of the can, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a plus or a minus to this beer that there's just not a lot of balance to the profile at all. It's just there and gone, and leaves a little of that sour lemon on the back.
The sour lemon, almost like a lemon rind.
Yeah, and it's very much the peel of it. I don't know if it's bad.
The appeal?
The appeal.
But
look what you did there.
Yeah, look what I did. Well, it's a very interesting beer, nice and light and refreshing, which should stand in total contrast to The next one we will try, which will be in our final segment, we'll be trying the St. Arnold Divine Reserve 18. So we'll be telling you about that. Plus, coming up in our next segment, and good that we went with a little bit lighter beer there, because in the next segment we'll be trying an artisan gin. And I don't think we'd want to try this after, a barrel-aged oak stout or something. So, Roxor will be the gin we'll be trying in the next segment. Plus, hopefully we'll get to your state if we haven't yet and tell you about the
great-looking bottle,
the best brew pub in your state.
We may have to continue that on next episode.
Yeah, we're plowing through pretty good.
Yeah, that sinus is killing me.
The biggest thing is I just have to write these out because there's no way I can
read them on the
spot, read them on the fly, yeah.
Louisiana.
The Great Lost Bear. What a great name. Apparently it was. It's founded in 79. I never went there.
Man, that allergy medicine is just drying me out.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get enough water. Pour my water into my cup.
Yeah, I thought this beer was okay. Not my favorite, but okay. But I thought it'd be interesting to try because...
Yep.
Also don't want to always try exactly the same things, Bless you.
Yeah. I'm going to excuse myself for just a second. Roll my nose.
I saw the Black Panther Cruise.
What'd you think? Was it as good as you'd heard? Yeah?
Pretty good. It's definitely better than a lot of the other superheroes.
A lot of the other superhero movies, yeah.
So,
Well, that's good. I will definitely see it.
All right, I'm back. Now it's a party.
Thank you.
Now it's a party.
I was concerned about its lack of party potential.
Not until I'm here, it's not.
The brown
I put the arty in party. What? What's happening here? You're just mowing through the list.
If I were going to stop and try to read that, like, while we were there's no way.
Right. Try to decipher it now.
Fortunately, I've actually heard of a lot of these towns, so that helps. Okay. Is this segment 4?
I think so. It's going by fast, isn't it? Either we talk a lot or we're just having fun.
Well, again, when we are talking about cigars and beers and what have you, it's hard not to...
We have spent whole evenings on that.
Yes, we have. This is the port.
The good thing you're writing that down, or you'd be having to translate my handwriting on top of all that.
Yeah, it's a good thing I'm the one who has to translate this.
I'm not saying my handwriting's bad, but you might need a secret decoder ring. I don't think kids get that joke anymore.
No, I don't think they do.
Am I showing my age?
The decoder ring.
The secret decoder ring. Is it in the Christmas show or the Christmas story where he has the...
Yeah, I think so. Although I will confess I haven't watched that in years. I just can't deal with it being like...
He's trying to decode this thing, and it just says, like, drink more malto or something like that.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I finally got the code. It just says drink more malto.
Well, I can't tell. See, that's some of these, like, it's so in the black, I have to...
Yeah. Your grayscale's pretty dark there.
Yeah. I bet it's Lincoln. Yep. All right, that'll go through the segment.
All right.
And it is gin time. Okay, ready?
Gin time.
Let's rock and roll, baby. How are we doing on, what time is it? 12:25. Okay, so we'll be able to finish up in time and maybe sober up before the next show.
What do you mean by sober up?
What do you mean by the next show? Damn it, it's March 22nd.
That's right.
Welcome back, my friends. Smoking and Toasted is the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are here with show number 81, the best craft beer bars in every state. And we are going to be sampling some gin. That's kind of unusual for us to do a gin. We have a tendency to stay with whiskeys, rums, and tequilas. But we branch out every now and then, and we've always enjoyed when we have, so we'll be trying a gin. We're also going through and talking to you about the best craft beer bars in every state. Now, it's not a craft beer bar, but one of our favorite places to go in both Houston and Fort Worth is the home of our sponsor, which is B&B Butchers and Restaurant. They're at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And they have wonderful, wonderful bar selection.
Yes.
They've got some very interesting beers, but they're not really known as a beer place. They're really known more for their whiskeys.
They
and
have
rums
a very limited selection, but their selection is very
interesting and well curated.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this is what happens when you've got a guy like Jeremiah curating things for you. He'll keep it interesting, and
right.
He obviously knows his whiskey, and really rum's starting to become a passion for Jeremiah too. So it's interesting to watch that kind of develop at the B&B. But anyway, check that place out. Now, if you're in Wichita, Kansas, the place that people who live in the state of Kansas have voted as their best craft beer bar is a place called The Anchor. It's a woman-owned craft beer-centric neighborhood bar that has evolved with the sort of downtown district in Wichita that's kind of come alive over the last few years. It's a brick building, tin ceiling, 175 different choices and bottles and cans, and 58 on draft.
Oof,
that's not bad. From the picture, it almost looks like a diner, like a really cool little diner, which is different. I mean, it's got big windows in the front and stuff. It's a little different than your typical.
Right.
You think craft beer bar, you think darker,
right,
and more of a nighttime vibe. But this place is looking good, and a big part of the downtown Wichita resurgence, which is apparently a thing in Kentucky. If you're in Louisville, which is probably the place you want to be in Kentucky, you want to go to Holy Grail, Grale, Holy Grail. They were opened in 2010. They were originally a small Unitarian church in the heart of Louisville's Highlands neighborhood, but since 2010, they've developed a reputation for amazing beer, food, and events. And if you are on the search for the Holy Grail of beer experiences, you may want to try this place. 75 different selections in bottles and cans, 27 on draft. But again, this was in a former church that was built in 1905, so you know the vibe is going to be like
I've been to
really awesome.
I've been to a place in Pittsburgh called the Church Brew Works.
Yes,
that is a former church, big stone church.
Yeah, that totally works for me. Totally works for me. The Bulldog Uptown in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Nolans,
darling. They are located on the corner of Magazine and Pleasant Streets in the heart of the Garden District and the Magazine Street Entertainment District, and they offer one of the most dog-friendly patios in the entire city of New Orleans. I love when you go out for a beer someplace, they've got the outdoor patio, and people have brought along their dogs. It's just absolutely awesome. The Bulldog Uptown has over 100 different selections in cans and bottles, 48 on draft, and I can see their draft wall in this photo here, and it looks awesome.
Nice.
Yes, I love a good draft wall.
Yeah.
I really do. It's just a very exciting thing to see when you walk into a place that they've gone to the wall with the draft. You know?
The Ginger Man here in town has that brass wall.
Yes, the brass wall. Yeah. Yes, very cool.
Such a cool looking tap wall.
In Portland, Maine, in 1979, an establishment opened called the Great Lost Bear, and that is what Mainers have voted their favorite.
That wins for best name so far.
Oh, totally. And it's also the longest running bar on this entire list from all 50 states. Great Lost Bear, they were craft beer pioneers. I can tell you from living up in the Boston area and spending some time in Portland, Maine, that is a great craft beer city. They really, really do a lot with craft beer. And according to the article here, the city of Portland, Maine has the Great Lost Bear to thank for, kind of getting that interest started way back in 1979. If you think about it, there wasn't a lot of interest in craft beer back then. So, in Baltimore, Maryland, Max's Tap House, and I have been to Max's Tap House in Baltimore, and I can tell you that it is wonderful. You're going to love this. 105 draft taps plus 5 hand pumps. 5 hand pumps.
Nice.
So that's 110 different, fresh beer choices, right?
Plus casks.
Plus bottles and cans, over 2,000 different varieties. Oof. This may win the award for the most that we've heard. And it's a great place. The Tap House is known for having extremely fresh rotating drafts and really one of the most extensive bottle and can beer lists in the world.
Unreal.
They're also known for a Belgian beer festival, which they do on President's Day weekend, followed on Monday by the Sour Beer Festival after President's Day weekend. So kind of a cool little thing. Max's Tap House.
I thought you were going to say followed on Monday by a massive hangover.
Yes. No, that comes Tuesday after both the events. Right. In Worcester, Massachusetts, and I love Massachusetts because they can't figure out how they want to pronounce things. Worcester is spelled Worcester. So if you live somewhere other than Massachusetts, you'd be tempted to call it Worcester, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's pronounced Worcester. And there's also a city in the greater Boston area called Dorchester, Dorchester. But it is not pronounced Duster. It's pronounced Dorchester. So there's no rhyme or reason. But anyway.
Sometimes you use all the letters, sometimes you don't.
That's exactly right. In Massachusetts, they kind of do it how they want. And they have chosen Armsby Abbey in Worcester as the place to go. 100 different selections in bottles and cans, 22 on draft. And I will tell you, I've not been to Armsby Abbey, but I will tell you this. I can't think of another reason to go to Worcester. So I would say if you're going to be in Worcester, definitely visit
that should be the place to
Armsby Abbey. And finally, for this segment, the Brown Iron Brew House in Washington Township, Montana. Their strategy at the Brown Iron is to get customers to fall in love with craft beer as much as they do, and they love craft beer. 4 different selections in bottles and cans. 4. 70 on draft.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But I love 4.
4 selections of bottles and cans.
You got to figure they probably got Bud Light, Miller Light, and Coors Light, and something else in bottles and cans, and everything else is on tap.
That's pretty funny. That's like, the petrol station here doesn't have any of those mainstream beers.
Yeah.
if you go in and ask for a Bud Light, the closest thing you're going to get to it is an agave wheat.
Well, there you go.
That's it. That's like, we only have craft beer here.
Agave wheat might be a fun thing to sample.
Well, yeah, and I had a birthday get together there a few years back, and my wife's cousins showed up, and they drank the macro brews. And they drink a lot of it. And they were baffled at the bar.
Oh, my God. What am I going to drink?
You need the agave wheat.
Yeah. So,
Which is just fine.
Interestingly, I'm about to pop the top on the gin, and I'm discovering that it is a screw-off top. So that's about
well
the best,
done, sir.
That's about the best sound effect I can
You
generate.
could also blow across the top to get the whoof.
Yeah. I'm not good at this. Oh, well, we'll try that. I should have practiced that off air.
It was worth trying.
So Roxor is a relatively inexpensive, but a very handcrafted artisan type of gin. And this is, are you familiar with what this costs in the store, Ian? The Roxor?
$20.
20, not even 29, $20.
$20.
Wow. That's
my wife was in Specs. And they have these sample tables.
Oh yes, that's very, very good like that.
And she walked up to one to try this gin because she likes to make a martini and she likes gin martinis, And she tried this and immediately bought it.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, we'll try a gin. A lot of gins very juniper heavy and stuff. We've had a couple gins on here. We had that barrel aged gin that was quite good.
And we've had the Mattias Horseman and his amazing his amazing gin and tonic machine, which also was great. But this
one's different.
It's interestingly got this great little tag that hangs on the bottleneck. It says Texas first and best gin, chef recipe, small batch Texas gin, perhaps the most attractive gift in the world. It says.
I'm going to tell you what I think about this particular gin. There's not a lot of gins that when you try it just straight, you go, man, that's delicious.
Man, that's delicious.
Yes, see what I mean?
I just tried. And are you serious? This bottle is $20?
$20.
Dude, I'm heading there after
$20.
work.
What's interesting about it, though, is if you read the other side of that tag there, the right side of the tag, it tells you about what they do different
so
than
they
a
do
regular
soft
gin.
steeping for 24 hours to extract the perfume notes of the botanicals. Juniper, fresh Texas grapefruit, which you can totally taste in here. Lime zest, Texas pecans.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I tasted that. I'll have to go back again.
I think that adds to the sweetness that you get right up front on this.
Cocoa nibs and hibiscus all help provide the signature taste. One taste and you will know why. And what's really interesting here, Ian, is that it says batch number and bottle number, and then it is hand numbered.
Yes.
This particular bottle is batch number 340, bottle number 2848.
This gets a price versus quality index of about 7 or 8.
About 7 or
real
8,
quick.
Yeah. The taste that beats the big British gins, and I have to say, from New Artisan Spirits.
So, gin generally, like if you have the big names gin, generally is a bitter drink, and that's not bad. It's
which is
just
balanced by the botanical.
Right, and then you get the floral with the bitter. So actually not too unlike the way an IPA works. You get that bitter from the hops, and you get that real floral kind of thing that work together. This has a sweetness that you don't generally get from gin, and the cocoa nibs and the pecans and everything in there. It's just so interesting.
Yeah, it really is delicious.
Let me tell you about an amazing martini. Like that makes a brilliant martini.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
I bet it
It's
does.
so interesting and so good.
I'm just thinking how good this would be like as a dirty martini, like with the olive juice.
Yeah, with the olives.
And
And it's that makes, and as you can see, my wife has tried to
put a dent in it.
To put quite the dent in it.
And I will tell you, this is, gin is definitely 4th or 5th on my list of favorite spirits. Definitely not in the top 3. But this is good. I could get used to drinking this.
Well, I brought that specifically today because of the price point it's in. It's so good. If you're going to have one gin on your shelf, you might as well have a good and interesting one.
Well, I want you to tell your wife thank you for adding a really interesting,
I will do.
Really interesting thing to today's show. You were listening to Smoking and Toasting. We're doing craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. One more segment in which we will delve into the mystery behind St. Arnold Divine Reserve number 18. Plus, we'll finish up our craft bar list. Coming up, Smoking and Toasting.
It's an incredibly interesting gin, isn't it?
Yep. guest is here. Would you mind just walking out to the front? Tell him we are unusually doing 2 shows today, and we have to finish the last segment on this one, and then we will come.
You
get him
didn't
if
hear
he
that on
doesn't mind.
Facebook, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you, Facebook.
Yes, I'll just go outside. I can edit that out.
Yeah, thank you. Leave it to me.
Yeah, I'll go back.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right. Handled.
He's cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
I was going to copy all this and like paste it into a document in case this happened, but I was like, oh my god, that'll take it out.
Are we getting towards the end? I'm interested to see what Texas has.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of it?
It's delicious.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Very tasty, very enjoyable. I mean, easily sip on.
Easy to drink, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Dangerous, yeah. A little scary.
Most, I wouldn't say most. I haven't tried that many, but ones I have tried can be very, not harsh, but can be really upfront. It
Yeah.
hits you pretty
Bitter,
hard.
very bitter a lot of times.
Yeah. So that's a different taste.
Kind of depends on the flavor profile you're looking for, too. Sometimes you want that real junipery upfront kind of flavor.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like if I'm having a martini, that's just what I'm expecting to try.
Yeah. That's good.
All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Axelrad is on that Texas.
If what is?
Axelrad?
Oh, Axelrad?
Have you been there?
I haven't.
Yeah, you gotta check it out, man. They probably have at least 60, 70 on tap.
Nice.
All craft.
Will you look up Brew Fontaine, BREWFONTAINE, and see where it says that it is?
Yeah, they call it the Axelrad Beer Garden.
Same word,
Brew
Brewfontaine?
Fontaine, yeah, all one word.
Brewfontaine, Ohio?
I don't know. It's a brew pub, right?
Brewfontaine.
A craft beer pub.
Oh, gotcha. Bellefontaine, Ohio?
It might be. I don't know.
That's what's popping up.
Bellefontaine. Oh, yep, that's it. In Bellefontaine, Ohio.
Uh-oh, we just gave that away.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to jump into the second version of this. I'm almost ready. Oh God, you're right. We may have to go into next week. I'm gonna try to just blast through a bunch of these, maybe a little faster than we did.
Okay,
last
or we can save it for next week's episode.
Well, that might be tougher than we think. Will you look up Bull's Head Public House?
Bull's Head?
Mm-hmm. Bull's Head Public House. It's in Pennsylvania, but I can't make out the...
Lititz. TZ, Pennsylvania. Lititz.
And oh boy. He was cool.
Yeah.
Look up Harry's Ale House in, I think it's West Virginia. I can't see the name of the town.
Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg, West Virginia, or just Virginia?
Says Virginia.
Yeah, it is just Virginia. That's Harry's Ale House, right?
Yeah. For those of you bored and watching
Okay,
this
here we
right
go.
now, that's because the print on there is so dark that it's hard to
Yeah, I
read.
just don't want to. I don't want to be doing this during the show. So. All right, we did that. We did that. Oh no, we didn't. We did brown iron. Okay, so Mankato's next. All right, ready to roll when you are. Oh wait. Oh, will you look up and have the info on Divine Reserve?
I got it.
Oh, and I will
Right here.
Oh, good. You got the bomb. You got. Hold on.
All right, gentlemen, I'm ready when you are.
Like they say, I'm down like 4 flat tires.
And we will actually be through before 1. I'm proud
I'm
of us.
tracking like a Geo.
I'm doing it like a G6, whatever that song said. I don't remember what was it like a G6?
On the beach in Hawaii.
Oh,
This is not the worst job I've had.
That makes me happy. It just makes me happy. You are listening to Smoking and Toast, and you're correct, Ian. This is not the worst job we've had. Not by a long shot. Welcome back to the show. It's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 81, talking about the best craft beer bars in every state. We've got quite a bit of the list to get through, so that we can cover your state or your home state or a state you might be visiting soon. So I want to make sure that we are able to do that.
State of confusion.
State of independence, whatever you're going for.
State of ridiculousness.
State of ridiculousness. These were voted on by the readers of craftbeer.com. And so you voted in your own state and said, "This we think the coolest place in my state." So in Minnesota, it's the Mankato Brewery in Mankato, Minnesota. I've never been to Mankato, but I had a buddy once that was from there.
I've never even heard of that.
Interestingly enough, they have 17 choices in bottles and cans, but 12 on draft. But they are focused on authentic beers that are all about the region and the people. So they're not messing around with stuff from elsewhere. You're getting Mankato.
You don't have to have a ton of drafts. You just have to have good ones.
The right ones. Yeah, it's just like it's about curation, really, more so than choice. In Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the Porter, 100 plus in bottles and cans, and it's 100 plus different selections, and 24 on draft. It's a true public house experience by offering American pub fare and locally brewed beers from Mississippi. I would love to sample the local Mississippi brewers. That's what's great about this whole craft beer thing is the local beers in every area. Some of them are just outstanding. And you're like, oh, please come to my home state, please. In Kansas City, the Beer Station, BIER Beer Station, 28 different taps with draft and 400 different selections in bottles and cans. The staff really knows what they're doing there, and they blend a tavern environment with a package store. Kind of cool. Then there's the Dram Shop in Missoula, Montana. 110 different selections in bottles and cans, 40 on draft, and they are the first Montana standalone growler fill station and tap room.
Nice.
That does sound fun, doesn't it?
Growlers are great.
In Lincoln, Nebraska, the Happy Raven, Raven, the Happy Raven. It's located in an old bank, and it's turned itself into a destination for independent craft beer and conversation. 100 plus in bottles and cans, 18 on tap. And it just looks like fun. Yeah, you'll love the picture of it when you.
Anytime you're drinking in an old bank, like we had the Bank Draft Brewery here, and we also have Rockefellers. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. There's Aces and Ales in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Ian, you and I have been to Las Vegas. We were actually there together for the Big Smoke. And I knew nothing about Aces and Ales, so this has to be on our destination list for next time we go. Incredible beers paired with a full scratch kitchen and inviting atmosphere. In spring and fall, you can spend nights under the stars on the patio and the fireplace. They are proudly leading the revolution for Las Vegas craft beer drinkers longing to break free from the norm. 150 selections in bottles and cans, 50 on draft.
And by the way, in Las Vegas, when they say under the stars, there are no clouds in that sky.
Oh, it's amazing. None. Yeah, stars.
None at all.
The Portsmouth Brewery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire is a wonderful place that I've actually been to. It was founded in 1991. It was New Hampshire's original brew pub, and they've got 20 different drafts on tap. And they're definitely, there's only a few of these I've ever actually been to. That's one, and I had the most amazing time there. You got to go if you're in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. The Cork City Ale House in Hoboken, New Jersey was founded in 2009. 151 different choices in bottles and cans, 42 plus 6 casks on draft. So I know your eyes just lit up when I said 6 casks. Yeah. Aside from traditional brewery tap takeovers, they say Cork House Ale is known mostly for their theme-based tap takeovers. So they do a whole bunch of things that sound like a lot of fun. And, if you're in New York City, getting out to Hoboken can be a nice change of pace. Get out of the city and, maybe enjoy a place that has a little room to like stretch your arms and stretch your legs. So if you're in Santa Fe, New Mexico, you must visit the Rowley Farmhouse. Rowley Farmhouse Ales, a small and independently owned brewery and farm-to-table gastropub. 20 plus selections in bottles and cans, but more on tap, 24 on tap.
Nice.
So, and this, you can tell this is just a farmhouse where they're doing like this. I mean, they've got this great little like organic farm stuff going on and local brew. I mean, I could get lost in a place like that.
Nice.
Copper City Brewing Company in Rome, New York, founded in 2016, 12 on draft. It's the first brewery in Rome, New York in over 70 years.
That's pretty cool.
And it's serving beer lovers incredibly fresh beer, all made from New York State products. So
nice.
A very cool idea. In Arden, North Carolina, there's the Craft-Centric Craft Room and Bottle Shop. Let me say that again. Oh, the Craft-Centric Tap Room. I'm sorry, I misread it. Craft-Centric Tap Room and Bottle Shop. Known for a new and unique take on the bottle shop/tap room concept, they focus more on artistic approach rather than a brewery tin tack theme. They commissioned a local artist to paint a skull exploding hops from its head, which I would love. I like that. They've got 16 taps and 375 choices in bottles and cans.
That's a lot of beer choices.
We're almost through with this, and we're going to taste us some Divine Reserve. There is the Worst Beer Hall in Fargo, North Dakota. The Worst Beer Hall.
That's nice.
And it's Worst, of course, WRST, like bratwurst, and beer, BIER, like the German spelling of beer. It's the only German-themed bar in town in Fargo, and you can sit along long communal tables. Keeping with tradition, they celebrate MyFest as well as a 3-weekend-long Oktoberfest. That's a big deal with the locals. 20 in bottles and cans, 41 on draft.
I like drinking establishments that have the communal tables.
Yes.
Because it really invites talking to the people next to you.
And particularly if it's a craft beer place, you talk about the beer. I mean, it's an easy conversation starter, and pretty soon you get a new friend, which is what we all need, right? In Brewfontaine, Ohio, there is a place called Brewfontaine. It was founded in 2015. 60 choices in bottles and cans, 16 on tap, and their draft list is ever changing. They are known for being the place that never has the same draft list. So I
Bellefontaine.
Like I'm sorry, did I say Brewfontaine? Yes. I'm thinking Brew. Bellefontaine in Bellefontaine. Thank you. There is Oak and Ore in Oklahoma City. Educated staff is one thing, but to be serious about the beer, you have to have the right tools, they say. They have a unique draft system that allows them to dial in each tap for the perfect pour in the appropriate glassware at 4 different style appropriate temperatures. So they are serious about their beer. Everything on draft, 36 selections.
That's beer snobbery at its best.
And that's in Oklahoma City, of all places. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Oak and Ore. Be sure to check it out. All right, we are almost done. There is the Beer Mongers in Portland, Oregon. So Portland, Oregon is the hippest city in the world. I'm sure you realize that. If you don't believe me, just talk to anybody who lives in Portland.
Yes.
And they will tell you all about it. So to win Oregon, I mean, you've got quite a bit of competition. Sean Campbell calls Beer Mongers more a community than a bar. It began in September of 2009 as an idea conceived by 2 friends who love beer. Just kind of like this show. 600 different selections in bottles and cans, 11 on draft. And they think that Portland's the greatest beer city in the world. They're not embarrassed to tell you about it. And they wanted to create a comfortable environment for all beer lovers to shop, taste, and enjoy the incredible variety that Portland offers. So I love that they're so local focused. I think that's very cool. In Lidditz, Pennsylvania, there's the Bullhead Public House. And the Bullhead is a very old style, like so many of the pubs and things are in the greater Pennsylvania, in the greater Philadelphia area. They're more than a traditional British pub, though. They offer great food, friendly conversation, and over 70 beers in bottles and cans, 17 on draft, including 14 rotating beers, 2 cask-conditioned ales, and then, of course, all the different bottles. They're trying to bring the traditional British pub vibe to Pennsylvania, from seat-yourself policy to ordering at the bar. That sounds like a lot of fun. There's Norrie's in Newport, Rhode Island. It's tough for them to say what makes this 18-year-old beer bar stand out. They say just a little bit of everything is unique. The beer selection, there's 110 bottles and cans, 21 on draft. The staff, the food cooked right in front of you in an open kitchen. They have a huge following, and Newport, Rhode Island is a great place to visit and drink. What a wonderful little town.
Plus, people
Newport.
talk funny.
Yes, they do, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. There's the Craft Stand in Lancaster, South Carolina, 200 plus in bottles and cans, 24 on draft. There is Rapid City, South Dakota's, Independent Ale House. Thank you. Some of these are a little bit hard to read the way they came out. In Knoxville, Tennessee, Hops and Hollers, 140 in bottles and cans, 32 on draft. In Canyon, Texas, the Imperial Tap Room has won for the 2nd year in a row, by the way.
I've been to Canyon.
Have you been to the Imperial Tap Room?
I have not.
Well, it's the bar's ability to create a world tap list, they say, in an area with limited beer distribution, while stubbornly refusing to carry macro beer on its menu, isn't just impressive, it's dedication. That's what they say here. The Beer Hive Pub in Salt Lake City, Utah, 300 in bottles and cans, 24 on draft. And in Brattleboro, Vermont, the Whetstone Station, Vermonters take their beer and food very, very seriously. And there's a lot of great craft beer being brewed in Vermont. In Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, Harry's Alehouse, thought there was an N on the end. 20 in bottles and cans, 24 in draft. In the wonderful state of Washington, North Jetty Brewing, the brewery and tap room, only 5 selections in bottles and cans, only 15 on draft. So this is all about curation.
Yes.
And it offers Seattle people a way to escape from the city and do a rather relaxed beercation.
Environment has a lot to do with it.
It really does. And finally, in Huntington, West Virginia, the Summit Beer Station, 120 in bottles and cans, 24 on draft. They've recently expanded, and it is pretty darn nice, according to what I'm seeing here. The Brass Tap in Greenfield, Wisconsin, 135 in bottles and cans, 80 on draft. And in Sheridan, Wyoming, Founded in 2010, Blacktooth Brewing Company, with 6 different selections in bottles and cans and 13 on draft. So again, all about the curation. I know that was I know that was a long list, and we have some.
Aren't you thirsty now?
I am so thirsty, and we got Divine 18 to taste. Ian, can you tell us anything about Divine 18?
Yes.
I know it's a. Oh, that was nice.
I'm going to start off with this one's not a surprise.
This one's in a bomber, but by the way, it comes in 6-packs as well.
Yes. Also, you can get it on tap in certain places.
Oh, yeah.
Including the New Potato.
Oh, I love the New Potato. We've
I
done a
do
show
too.
there. What an awesome place. Yes.
This is 13.4%, my friend.
Holy moly.
This is big.
Yep.
This is an American
It's a good thing
double.
we don't have another show after this one or something. 'Cause that would be like, whoa, after this?
This is an American double Imperial Stout.
So it's a double Imperial Stout.
Right.
Holy moly.
I'll go ahead and read you straight off the...
Please do.
this is Beer Advocate, I think I'm on. Mm-hmm. I love Beer Advocate, by the way.
It's a great site.
Let's see here. Diving into darkness, you can gain insight into your potential. Allow the absence of light and truly find what it means to have it. This approach was taken designing Divine Reserve number 18. How can we push the limits of our brew house? Our House St. Arnold's yeast, ourselves. How many test brews of Imperial Stouts? We found the process needed to create a beer with massive amounts of flavor and aromatic qualities. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to drop that.
Okay.
This beer might be one of the best beers ever.
Oh, wow. So that's now that Ian, that's a very large claim. So I'm going to show this to the camera. It is definitely dark. It's what you would expect an Imperial Stout to look like. And it's definitely got, it's got some viscosity. You can tell before you drink it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be chewy like
no
some
light
of the
will go
beers
through this beer.
But yes, no light will go through this beer.
This is 13.
It is the definition of opaque.
Yes, this is 13.5%, and it's so deliciously drinkable.
Wow, Ian.
This might be one of the best beers ever.
This is like drinking a dessert.
You had the same exact response that I had when I first tried it.
Wow.
I was just taken aback and
This
holy
is honestly
cow.
like drinking a dessert, like a perfectly balanced. When you're like out at a restaurant and you go, well, I don't think I'm going to really have dessert, but then you try it and you go, I'm not really that hungry. And then you take that first fork or spoonful of whatever it is, and the pastry chef or the dessert chef has just made something that is so incredibly well blended. All the flavors just kind of melt together in your mouth. That's what this reminds me of.
I'm going to say a couple things. I'm going to say bitter dark chocolate. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say mocha. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say dark cherries.
Yes, I taste all of those.
Yes.
And yet there's almost some cinnamon and nuttiness to it as well.
Yes,
I mean, am I
there's a
pulling
lot
that
going
out?
on. Yeah, the cinnamon actually I didn't peg until you said it. But I can totally see that. This is unbelievable. St. Arnold's has
Adam,
done
did
it.
I pour you some of this? Oh yeah. You
Adam goes, yes.
You saw the look on Adam's face there too. I wish the camera had caught that because that was the same sort of reaction that I think we
So
had.
yeah, I give them hands down on this. This is, I think, the best beer that's ever come out of the brewery. It's amazing.
Certainly my favorite Divine selection that I've ever tried.
Absolutely, and they've had some great beers. Like,
oh my god,
they're
and the
so
Bishop's
good.
Barrel and like everything that
But
they
this
do.
takes the cake because this has everything. It's got balance from front to back. It's got body. It's got the big sweet flavor. It's got a nice bitter finish. It doesn't leave you with a stickiness.
I almost wish we had tried this early in the show so we could just keep telling people throughout the entire show
How good it is.
Oh my God, you've got to go get some Divine 18. This is like, when St. Arnold used to release Divine, say back 7 or 8 years ago, they would run out like the day it was released.
instantaneously.
You would have to be in line at a store to get it. Now, because there's so many different, craft beer options and stuff, you can now find the Divine Reserve when it hits the store. And so this was, quite frankly, downstairs at my little place that I can go without, having to put clothes on.
I always picture you in fuzzy slippers and boxer
and
shorts.
that's exactly
buying
how
beer.
I go down there. Yeah, I was down there just like that. Fuzzy slippers and
And a
boxer
house
shorts,
robe.
buying the St. Arnold Divine Reserve, and I think they have more. So go to
How much was
Phoenicia
that?
today.
How much was the
I
bomber?
think it was $20.
Yeah.
Like
And it's
$19.95.
worth
yeah.
every penny of that. That is
It
an
totally
outstanding
is.
beer.
There are times when you pay, a lot of money for a bomber, and you go, well, that was good. But I
Yeah.
don't know if it was worth
Yeah, $20.
$20, right? Yeah. But this was absolutely worth it, and I will buy more.
Yes.
So what a high
And
note.
what would be really nice about this too is to buy it and store it for a while and see what it's like in a couple of years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what a high note to close the show on. We want to thank everybody involved with today's show, and we want to excitedly tell you to stay tuned because we'll be announcing the details about upcoming show in just a couple of weeks live from Los Angeles, and we're psyched about that. So.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yes, it's gonna be a good
Cheers.
time. Beer and spirits will be consumed. Cigars will be smoked. It'll be another typical episode of Smoking and Toasting. Thanks to our friends at B&B Butchers and Restaurant. Have a great week, my friends. I'm so sorry that we run out of time for sampling the Mumford & Sons IPA.
One day we'll get to that.
But we will try to get to that. Thank you and have a great week. And spring is here. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. Bye-bye, Facebook, everybody's.
Have a wonderful week. Get some Divine 18. It's good.
That's good beer.
Wow, that's good.